Yeah. So I would love to hear if you kind of zoom out and look at successful conversations where you do ask those tough questions and you feel like you are truly getting the honest answer and you can always tell by like the pause right before they answer.
Totally.
If they answer right away, it's like with my kids, I've learned if I'm like, hey, did you do your homework? Yep. It's like, you answered that too.
You
Yeah.
absolutely did not.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, I've been there. I've said that. Yeah, of course I
Oh,
have.
yeah. We all have. But when you look at those ones that do answer honestly and are willing to kind of dive deep with you,
Yeah.
how do you set that up? How do you recommend to people, hey, if you do these steps, it's likely you'll get more success?
Yeah. As a provider, I think the first thing is it's so important to listen first. My favorite thing I say to patients, okay, you're coming in for this. Tell me about it. Just give them the time. Give them that couple minutes to just talk, to just say it, right? And I mean, thankfully now with AI charting and stuff, it's really easy for us. But I just say, tell me about that. What's going on? And then they generally can go off for a couple minutes. And then we have the ability to either, dig a little further, inquire a little more about something, ask a follow-up question. But I think when patients feel like they're listened to and heard, and not just you sitting there like head down typing away, but really like engaged and there and present, that makes such a world of a difference for them because they're like, oh, you're actually taking the time, like you care. It just shows you care.
Yeah.
And I think starting with that is like immediately, if you're not listening, that there goes your any sort of hope of establishing a relationship or, building that trust. It's gone. If you're not listening and they feel like you're not listening,
Yeah.
game over.
Yeah. It's funny. We talk about this all the time. I don't know if you know this, but your answer aligns perfectly with the research on PubMed.
Yeah.
So Emma is evidence-based, but the other side is like the number one complaint in the research we've looked at, like 80 articles, is no one ever listened to me and nobody ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And the flip side that you can see in this is I would love to dive into like your Google reviews of patients because when they are listened to, that is one of the most common things they talk about. They'll talk about the cleanliness in office. They'll talk about if you're on time or not. And the third thing is whether or not they were listened to. And so they use words like they don't rush you through. They actually listen to you, which is interesting because you could take those patients and be like, if you rushed them through or listened to them, maybe they both end up getting an antibiotic, right? Like the
Yeah.
treatment is no different. However, their belief in the treatment, their willingness to come back, their willingness to complete that antibiotic, like, compliance is like a huge issue with that. When they're heard and listened to, it's so much better. And what I always think is so interesting is if you look at any profession, forget healthcare, but you look at, I had a friend that was in the military and he said, the first thing you do when you're invading any country, take out communication, take out the satellites and the radio towers because at its bedlam, they can't get themselves right, let alone mount a defense against you. And I think, yeah, we do that to ourselves in healthcare. It's like, oh, I won't communicate.
Yeah.
It's like, there's no situation I know of where lack of communication improves outcomes,
Right. And I think, like you said, like it improves outcomes, compliance, but also what they go and tell their friends and their just overall experience, right? Which then leads to what they tell their friends. So like also when we talk about like building a practice, right? Our patients are the ones that build the practice for us. That those referral networks, those word of mouth, those, Facebook posts and community groups that say, hey, I'm looking for a chiropractor. All those people that say, oh, go see Dr. Josh. He's great. He's great. They're saying that because they had that good experience, right? Yeah. Obviously, we also hope they get better, but their experience does matter.
Absolutely. Because in healthcare too, there's going to be people that they don't get better. We know they're not going to be better, but they still feel cared for. They still feel heard.
Okay.
Think about like, I always use the example of like hospice is what you do. It's against medical advice, right? You're like, oh, the prudent treatment here would be to dose them with more steroids or more antibiotics. And it's like, no, we're just going to actually just, go the other way and we're going to spend time. But at that time, it's like, yeah, communication still matters. Like sitting next to that person, spending time with them still matters. And that's
which is interesting. Yeah. And even thinking about relationship-based medicine, right? So their outcomes improve when they feel like we know them as a person. So I don't know what you do with this, but in my practice, if someone's like, I try and remember like their kids' names, or I try and remember like when they go on vacation. Like I said to my patient, I probably hadn't seen her in like 4 or 5 months. And I was like, you went to Hawaii, didn't you? And this was like, 4 months ago when last time I saw her, she was about to go. She's like, yeah, you remember it. And I'm like, well, I put it in the top of your chart. But I don't, I go, yeah, or I try and remember those things that establish that relationship that's beyond just necessarily like what they're exactly coming in for their pain or their menopause. It's like, let's, how's your kid doing? They were going through a rough time, or just little things. But I think that all cumulatively really adds up.
We actually teach this when people use our software. One of the most powerful messages you can send out is we allow you to do what's called a scheduled send. So you can write it at 9 a.m. right after their exam and send it out at 7 p.m. that night. And I always say it's 5 times as powerful if you include one little piece of information that was never put in their online paperwork. Don't put their name. No, I mean, like, put their name, but don't put like anything like that. If you can put their pet's name, or like the fact that they went to Hawaii, or all these things, and it shows that you're listening. So it's like Emma, I know you have a dog, a newish dog. What's your dog's name? Penny. So if I wrote you a message, if I see you tonight, if I saw you this morning at 9 a.m. and then you get a message from me at 7:02, it says, "Hey Emma, I was just checking in on you. By the way, give Penny a little scratch for me." It shows that I listened. It shows that I care, and people go, "Oh my gosh, I'm finally in the right place," because otherwise they wouldn't have remembered that name, right?
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Trust Driven Insights, brought to you by TrustDrivenCare. Imagine a world where all your patient communication is in one place, seamless, effortless, and on autopilot. That's the power of Trust-Driven Care. If you're ready to streamline your practice, check out TrustDrivenCare.com and see what's possible. Trust-Driven Insights. Real conversations. Smarter care. Stronger business.